Hello, everyone. John Doyle from OptixEQ, and I got a special treat for you today. This video analysis, we're going to do the late pick 4 Gulfstream Park on Wednesday, February the 16th. We're going to start at race 5, go through 8. I'm going to try to get through it quickly. Hopefully, you'll pick some things up, show you kind of a little bit of speed handicapping that Optix do here. Okay, so the first race is a claiming race. It's a sprint, and you got a plot fit of yellow, contentious sun, and speed rating of 0. So not much early pace on. That to me would favor quadrant 1 runners, and we got the 3, 4, and 6. Okay, so we're going to pay attention to those horses as we go through this analysis. The 4 looks great on the plot, but there's issues with that horse. Okay, so 3 and 6 are the ones that I thought looked good from quadrant 1. Now, what I like when I'm playing these pick 4s, I like to play horses with contrasting styles, just in case the race breaks down or what have you. So I figure I got the early, if I look at the 3, 4, 6, I might have the early pace figured out. What about the late pace? It looks like 2 is the only kind of contender. If you look at it with surface distance plot, it's a square. The 5 has a better standard plot, but let me kind of lay out the race and then we'll go from there. But for me, it's going to be the 2 of the late closes. But let's go through this race a little bit more. I'm going to start with the 4 because that's the horse that is going to be the favorite and the big one. He's coming off a layoff, and here I just got my notes on the race. I'm going to put alongside. Number 4 has got a huge plot, rushing to win. But did he peak last time? I mean, he ran an 82. He kind of is in a little bit of an outer, right? He's run a 46, a 74, 42, 7. Now he's had 2 good races, and he's hit the bench. Concern there. The other concern is I noticed that Lopez. This is look. You're not losing anything with the jock Gaffalione. But I mean, Lopez was on this horse before. He was available. Yes. The other thing is he's changing trainers, coming off the 54-day layoff. Big plot, a little bit of an in and outer. I'm going to take a stand against. When you play these pick 4, especially this sequence, there's a lot of short fields. You got to take a stand somewhere. So me, I'm taking a stand against the 4. Which horses do I like? I do like 3 and 6 and 2. Okay, so let's start with the 2. This is kind of a sneaky horse in my opinion. Start off his 2-year-old career, around 73, closed in that race. Good race. Then he came back and ran in a 35 optional, and that was a strong race. Look at the Optix fig range in that race, 87.95. Nothing in this field is near that. And this horse ran a 4th. Incredible race. We projected notes, OptixNOTES projected the drop next time out, but didn't get it. And the horse went long on synthetic, not what obviously wanted to do. He didn't handle the track. You see the no handle keyword. So we're expecting a big improvement with this horse, especially if they kind of mix it up a little bit early and the 4 does get involved early, then not, and some others get involved the 7. Look for the 2 to come running late. He's one of the keys in our pick 4 play. So number 2 rhymes like dimes, and he's 9-2. The other thing about him, he does get a major rider upgrade too from Reyes to Ortiz, so another positive there. The other horse that looked like maybe the best of the early pace scenario would be the 6. Another horse that didn't handle the track. This time it was a sloppy track last time. That was 3rd race in a layoff, kind of was improving before that. A little concerned too, a little bit of an in and out or two, it looks like, but maybe just this is the horse that needs the right track, gets back on a fast track. That was his best race, the 80, a definite contender in this race. Another horse that's getting a switch in ownership and trainer, but a horse to look for. And then the other one that we mentioned was the 3. Lopez, who we talked about on the 4, ends up here. He's probably the least likely, but again, another improving horse. I mean, from an Optix fig standpoint, going the right direction. Comes back in 10 days, gets the drop. The problem with him is concern is the slow out of the gates. So that's a concern with a horse like this, but a horse that we would use, on a backup. So in review, Optix race 5, kind of against the 4, prefer the 2 and the 6 in this race. Figure we're going to get the best of the early and late pace horses. And the other horse that we didn't talk about, maybe consider, is the recent maiden winner, the 7. Had a perfect trip. That maiden race came back okay. If you're inclined and want to use more money, have at it. Maybe you want to consider that horse on a backup ticket. But I'm going to stay with 2, 6 and keys and backing up with 3 in race 5. Okay, so I'm going to move on to race 6. Hopefully, we're going at a pace that's everyone can keep up with and everyone feels comfortable with the information in here. The race 6, another short field. Again, to me, you look at this plot and it looks like the 5 stands out, right? A Q1 square horse that can sit. 4, also a very good plot. Now the 4 is the morning line favorite. I think the 5 will be the favorite and the horse to beat. But 4 is coming off a layoff. So it's a pretty significant layoff for this level. So my inclination is the 5 looks like a key horse. The 7 and the 2 look like the other contenders in here. Let's just go flip to them for a second. The 2 is a horse that, another horse that didn't handle the switch to synthetics last time, but is capable of running on dirt, and that's what the projection is here. Gets back to dirt, gets back to the distance that this horse wants, 6 furlongs. Projecting a big improvement. This horse is it good enough to win. He's maybe a little bit on the low end, but he can run those mid to high 80s. He's going to need some breaks, things to play out. Good long shot kind of play, more for underneath probably than anything. And then the other horse that we mentioned was the 7. Yeah, he's another horse that's getting back to, I think, preferred service. Second off a layoff, had traffic in the return race, stretching out a little bit. Just not a lot of value in this horse, 2-1 in the morning line. It'd be interesting to see who goes. I just think the 5 is the favorite horse to beat. You want to use the 2 and the 7 as a backup. I have no problem with that. Figure out how you want to use those. But again, review on that race is that 5 looks like the dominant plot. Second race off a layoff. He also had an EX in his last race. An EX is an OptixEQ. Those horses come back and do very well. 7 encountered traffic, returned fast enough, back to preferred service, and we talked about the 2. So those are the keys to race 6 for us. Okay. Now we're going to switch over to race 7. And again, no big fields. That's why we thought we can kind of move through this. But you see how I kind of process information. Everyone processes information differently, but there's keywords, there's green things, there's plots, there's visuals to give you kind of an idea, maybe how to attack a race that's maybe not traditional. And that's what you want to do. You want to be looking for things that other people don't have access to and think the way other people might not think. Okay, so you want to be contrarian to some extent, but also logical. In this race, to me, I kind of break it down. It's got a high contention and speed ratings, about average, a little bit above maybe. The 1, 5, and 7 look like horses that want to be forward. Just based on looking at the plot, the 7 looks like the best of those horses. If I thought an early pace horse would win, I'd be leaning more on the 7 in this race. The 5 is interesting in the fact that, but my concern is he's breaking from the rail. He's had issues before where he breaks slow, so that's a concern with him. So that would leave me with the 2, 4, and 6 to evaluate. The 4 on surface and distance doesn't look like he's got much of a finish ability. So the 2 and the 6 are the horses that I would kind of look at in this race. So let me go to, let me get back to race. Yeah, okay, so this is the keys to race 7 I'm going to look at. So the thing about these horses, 5 of the 7 runners are facing winners for the first time, okay? So practically that's the whole field. So they're really not facing winners, they're facing each other. So you got to really look for the strength of the maiden races. And the 2 maiden races that have come back real soft are the ones that the 4 and the 5 were in. So I'm kind of negative on those. 7, as I talked about, looks like the best of the early pace runners, but the late pace runners that look pretty good were the 2 and the 6. And I'm just going to jump to the grid quickly here. The 2 comes out of the same race as the 7 2 back that was on the turf. So this horse getting back to the turf, and that race, that horse had trouble at the start. And so, from an edge perspective, the 7 obviously has the edge on this horse, especially but maybe with the different pace scenario now, 7 may get more pressure. This horse could do a little bit better. We always kind of projected this horse better on the turf. So it's going to be interesting. It's a horse you might want to consider as your long shot or exotics play. But the horse that I kind of prefer better of those 2 is the 6, Kitten's Collusion. This horse is coming off a layoff, but that win was a nice win. It was a spaced out field, and this horse made a good sustained move. It's hard to make a sustained move, especially when especially when a field is stretched like that. That horse did it a really nice way. That was not bad maiden race at Presque Isles, actually. Came back fairly decent. The race before, the turf race at Monmouth, didn't run all that well, but that was a pretty strong field. It came back. One of the horses was a non-graded stakes placed after that. So that race was maybe better than it looked. Getting a layoff, Motion, Saez. I think that this horse is going to be well targeted. I just like the finishability in this horse. So my early pace horse to 7, late pace horse to 6. Those are kind of the keys to my race. I don't want to get beat by a long shot like the 2, so I'm going to include that horse, but probably on lesser tickets. Okay. So this is a non-winners 2 race. So these races are usually messy. And from a pace analysis standpoint, the plot fit is red. You can see there, but contention is kind of sun and speed average is 100. The thing about it, though, if you look at it, the run styles, look, the 4 and the 1 are the only horses that are forward run styles. The rest are kind of closers. So I thought that favored the 1 and the 4, even though it's a high speed rate. They're all above the line, so it really doesn't matter. They're stretching out, they're doing things differently. It's a messy plot. But I think the 4 and the 1, from a pace perspective, might have an advantage. I think if they just could get in front of these horses, there's not a lot. You see a lot of circles there and not a lot of closability on some of these horses. It's messy, but it was just kind of the play I was looking at. From a form perspective, I think I just want to make sure when we do these kinds of races, when I do these kinds of races, I prefer younger, lighter race horses, right? Horses that haven't piled up the losses. So the 1 and the 3 kind of fit that bill if you look at the form. I want to lean toward horses that maybe look like they're improving, 2nd, 3rd off a layoff. The 8 fits the bill for me on that. And then I want to avoid horses that may have already peaked and may take money, like the 2, 5, and 6. And I want to avoid horses coming off long layoffs like the 9. And I want to avoid horses kind of just in poor current form like the 7. So for me, I'm looking at 1, 3, 4, 8, and a little bit of a spread here, and try to beat some horses that I think will take more money and try to close it out with a nice price pick 4. So that's it. I've kind of gone through the races. You can go back and look at the video and stop where I've kind of laid this out. Horses I prefer not, but I just thought it shows you how you can kind of get through a pick 4 relatively quickly using OptixNOTES. Again, it's up to you. I always say the greatest algorithm is the one between your 2 ears. So use it. And what we try to do is provide information and put it in a manner so that you could assess things more quickly and not get bogged down and drudge along. So hopefully this enlightens you. Again, look for the green, look for the squares, look for pace opportunities. Do that first, and then you'll get better as you start doing this, and you'll start creating patterns of your own and opportunities of your own. It's just a different way of thinking. So hopefully this was helpful. Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting us. Visit our web channel, our YouTube channel, and subscribe. And also visit our website at OptixEQ.com. We're in the process of changing it over. We had a little problems. We tried to do it today. Hopefully in the next week or so that we'll be on a new website soon. So thanks a lot for listening.